Hi, everyone. This is Jill from the Northwoods. Welcome to week 31. I'm still on Manjaro 7.5, and I had thoughts this week about maybe going up in dose. I hear 10 is really good for weight loss, but it also, again, as you go up in dose, you go up in side effects. And so far, I haven't had any. We had a good week. It was 1.4 pounds this week, and that brings me to almost 43 pounds lost, and that means I have about 79 pounds to go. Boy, it seems like a lot. And at any other time, I would be depressed. Oh, 80 pounds left to lose. It's so much weight. But this weight is so consistent and so, I'm not saying it's easy because I do a lot to get here, but just the fact that it is consistent and I can count on it. I didn't mind dieting in the past. I'm willing to give up food. I'm willing to exercise. I am willing to do all the things you're supposed to do. The depressing part was that you would do all those things and have no weight loss. It was just ultimately defeating that you would do things for weeks and weeks and weeks. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about, can I be overweight and healthy? And then a little bit to do with weight loss math. So I started, like I said, being overweight. The earliest I recognized it was in around 3rd grade. And what happened is a bunch of girls I was standing with came up and they said, "Did you know that boy weighs 103 pounds? And I weighed more. And suddenly I'm like, oh no, I'm overweight. And I didn't know it. My grandmother called it baby fat. She called it baby fat forever. And to be honest with you, growing up, I did not eat a lot of healthy foods. My family, we were up in the Northwoods. We were at a military base. There was a lot of TV dinners, a lot of prepared meals. I can't even think about the times when I had a vegetable. And if I did have a vegetable, it was because it was in one of the little compartments in a TV dinner. And I ate that all the time. But I was a hyperactive kid. If you look at the rest of the channel, I talk about how I got myself out of the ditch in life. I also had ADHD. I was very kind of hyperactive. I ran around all the time. And so I kept the weight off because I was so spastic. And then at some point, I discovered books. And suddenly you can remove my little face from a book. I was just into it. And from that point on, I started putting on weight because I still ate terribly, but now I wasn't even barely moving. And then, to be honest with you, what happens is you start going through puberty and you start getting breasts and the boys start making fun of you. And then just genetically, they ended up larger than I was expecting. Sorry if this is too much information. And then suddenly you don't want to exercise around boys at all. Because I can tell you that when I was growing up, there were no bras that supported you at all. So you couldn't run, you couldn't do anything. And then it turned out that the only thing I really liked was weightlifting. Probably because you're not running around and it's a very calm, steady motion. And I found something I really liked. But, my parents weren't going to buy me a weightlifting set. And so I only did it at those times when we ended up doing it in gym class. I learned to hate gym because the gym teachers would make me do things I couldn't do. We started that running thing, the 12-minute mile, all the exercise, pull-ups, push-ups. I couldn't do any of those. And so all I did was feel like a failure all the time. And not only that, I had enough problems with my grades without having my gym grade take me down a huge notch. And there was nothing I could even do about it. I tried to exercise a little bit more. I was a Girl Scout. I went hiking a lot. But the weight kept coming on and on and on. And probably by the time we left the military base in 8th grade, I was in the 140s. My dad retired from the military, and I'm still healthy at this point, but I have asthma now. I can't breathe. Every time I run, I can't catch my breath. And honestly, the medicine back in that time wasn't very good. And so my dad took me to the hospital one night because I was having an asthma attack. And it was the middle of winter, way up in the Northwoods by the Canadian border. I'm in my little footsie jammies. And the doctor said, "Well, I want you to run 2 laps around the hospital." Do you know how big this hospital was? I was just a little kid. And it was like 10 o'clock at night. So in the middle of winter, I ran twice and I was just having a complete asthma attack meltdown. And the doctor looked at me and he says, "Well, you have asthma and that's because you're fat. Lose some weight." No treatment, no medicine, no breather, inhaler, nothing. And I didn't know what to do. And so suddenly, before I hated exercise, I was embarrassed on exercise. The boys made me feel horrible about exercise. And now I can't breathe. And I thought that night I was going to die because I could never catch my breath. And now this doctor says, well, there's nothing really we can do for you except lose weight. That was the first indication something was wrong with my health. Okay, but I was still pretty young then. My dad retires from the military and I go to high school in a larger town, an industrial town, a little bit farther south. A little bit better medicine, to be honest with you. Some of the things that I had suddenly were getting treated by a little bit better medical treatment. And the doctors, of course, would be like, you're overweight, you have to lose weight, stop eating, just stop eating. And so I tried everything. And now I'm 14 to 18. And even my grandmother, who was glamorous. My grandmother was glamorous. She used to be a model. She would go to different cities like Paris and Rome and be in modeling shows. And she was beautiful. And I was her fat little granddaughter. It broke her heart, but she kept spending money to try to get me to lose weight. So she would put me through Weight Watchers, which I did. And then at some point, Jenny Craig came along, and those were prepackaged meals that they just gave you. And primarily, it was very low in sodium and low in sugar. So those were okay. And I lost some weight there too. But I think that for the most part, I think Weight Watchers was the best, to be honest with you, because they're trying to teach you lessons and try to be like moral support. You'd have meetings and you'd talk about your struggles and people would come up with ideas and help you out with it. But I continued to put on weight. And I think primarily, if I look back on it, it was, again, because I wasn't eating very healthy meals. And I got good at school finally. I finally started overcoming some of my ADHD problems and suddenly got good at school. And I was into it. I was all about school because I realized that the only way I was going to get out of the situation I was in was to go to college. So everything I did in high school was dedicated to me going to college, to me books, studying, grades, joining clubs, being involved in things. That's what got me to college. And so I stopped almost exercising entirely, except what I had to do in gym. And honestly, gym made me hate exercise. It made me despise it. My whole life, I just despised anything that had anything to do with physical fitness. Throughout high school, I weighed about 186. And then I went to college and I stayed about 186 all the way through college. So I was at that weight for a good solid 8 years. And we're going to talk about why that matters here in just a moment. But again, I tried Weight Watchers. I tried going through resources through the college campus to help me lose weight. And honestly, nothing worked. At some point, some doctor gave me horse pills that were diuretic. Clearly, my weight problem doesn't have to do with how much liquid is in my body, right? This is fat. It is not liquid drinking. I got out of college and my best friend and I used to go doing all sorts of things and having adventures, and she gets married. And now I'm alone. And what do? I eat more. So that's where I went from the 186 pounds I went to all the way up to the biggest weight I was at, which was 252. Sorry, this is so honest, but this is kind of where we were at. And again, I tried everything. I tried going back to Weight Watchers. I bought a really nice bike. I started exercising on my bike, but I didn't fit between the handlebars and the seat, and I'm really short, so I need a very small bike. Otherwise, it's too tall and I just fall off of it and then die. There was not much I could do, right? And so we talked about some of the health situations I had. Once I got on those extra pounds, then I started having period problems where it got very erratic. The doctor indicated to me that this was a problem, I don't know, to do with reproduction, I guess. And she didn't indicate that this was a sugar problem to me. I didn't know. She just said, just so you know, if you ever decide you want to have kids, this is probably going to be very difficult for you. And the guy I was seeing at the time really wanted a lot of kids. And so I was worried I couldn't have kids because of what she said. Oh gosh, so that was my first health problem. But also, my glucose was a little high. My cholesterol, a little high. My blood pressure was very good. But I still had asthma and I still had significant breathing problems. If I walked around too fast, I would get into a situation where I couldn't breathe at all, or someone smoked near me, or it was really cold outside. So I have friends who walk very fast, and I would be in a panic. They would walk in front of me, and I'd try to catch up. And no matter how many times I told them, every time I have one of these asthma attacks, I don't really recover for it for like a day or two. I'm still coughing. I'm still feeling terrible for about 2 days. And so that got worse, right? And then, at least at that point, I got on an inhaler and the doctor was treating my asthma. Okay, good news. So things are a little bit better. But that was my first indication that things were going wrong. Years go by, my glucose goes up, my cholesterol goes up, but never to the point beyond borderline. Never to the point where it was, Jill, you're in a health disaster right now. My knees started to hurt, my ankles started to hurt, and I would see the writing on the wall that if this continued, I wouldn't be able to go hiking anymore, which is the thing I love the most. I was having troubles walking. I was having troubles breathing. I, in fact, had to run at Detroit Airport once from gate A to gate E in like 5 minutes to catch my flight, or I was going to get stuck in Detroit overnight. So I ran flat out from A to E to get to the gate, and I get on the plane, and I have a full-blown asthma attack. I couldn't breathe. I was hacking my lungs out. People next to me, this was before the pandemic, were thinking I was sick. And I'm like, I'm not sick. I'm just having an asthma attack. Hopefully, now that I'm sitting down, I'll catch up on it. And my friend said, but you really could have died at that point. The plane pressurization is different. Okay, so now my health was getting worse. And at one point, I hurt my knee. I had it x-rayed because it was at work. So it became part of workman's comp. And they said, you have arthritis in your knee. Essentially, I nearly gave myself cancer by being overweight. The signals in my brain were not getting to locations because I had so much sugar, so much glucose, and this is what the doctor told me, that the signals that would say to start a period or stop a period stopped getting anywhere. And so things got very erratic, and if they get erratic for too long, they can turn into cancer. And so the doctor said, we think you may have cancer. And so I had surgery. They checked it out. I did not have cancer, but it was the stage right before cancer. If I had cancer, I would have gone immediately into chemotherapy right after the surgery it was hard enough to recover from the surgery. Then I hire a gym trainer. And this is the same gym trainer I see today. For 3 years, we worked out and she rebuilt me. She rebuilt my ankles, she rebuilt my knees, she rebuilt my core. I was nothing. I was just a big gelatinous blob. And she built me back into decent shape again. And I lost a ton of weight with her. I got down to 177. I went on my giant hike in England and started running and doing all sorts of things. And then on, it was just 1 week, I had to travel for work to New Orleans. I did a ton of running. I ran on the levee down in New Orleans. I ran the longest I had ever run in my life. I ran the fastest I ever ran in my life. And then immediately I turned around, went to the Ozarks and went camping where I hiked in the mountains. And I came back and my ankles were shot. I couldn't support my weight anymore. If I got out of my car, I would fall to the ground. At this point, I was not seeing my trainer anymore. And I wish I had been because I think she could have rebuilt me yet again. And I started putting on weight again. I couldn't move. I wasn't supposed to move. All night long, I would have ice on my ankles and ice on my knees. And the left ankle went after that because I was putting so much weight on my right ankle to take weight off my left ankle. Then I destroyed basically everything from my knee all the way down to my feet in both legs. I could barely walk. I limped. I had to go on customer trips. That was my job, was to go out and visit customers. And I would limp. And so I put back the weight again. And that's what brings us right up to the pandemic, where suddenly the pandemic comes in and I could just see myself going back to playing video games, sitting here, doing nothing for however long the pandemic was going to be. And then I thought, oh no, I'm just going to sit here and put on more and more weight. I started back with my trainer. We did it remotely over Zoom. And believe it or not, it worked and it was fantastic. She still does Zoom training for people. She worked me back up again. and I started dropping weight. But this time the weight didn't come off like it used to. Instead of the fact that I took 3 years and went from 252 to 177 and, lost all that weight, about 77 pounds of weight in 3 years, it wasn't coming off. I lost 6 pounds doing the same program. She had me on a 1,400 calorie a day diet. If you looked at my BMR at that weight, I should have been able to handle about 2,300 calories a day. Her goal was to sort of have a 1.5 pound deficit every week, so I'd lose 1.5 pounds every week. And that would include exercise. So I brought my iPad here just to talk a little bit about exercise math when I weighed 252. So that was about 2,300 calories a day. So I had 2,300 calories times 7. So I was able to eat about 16,000 calories a week. But we were not eating 16,000 calories a week. We were eating 1,400 calories a day times 7. That equals almost about 10,000. I'm just dumbing down the math here a little bit so we don't get caught up. So that would have been a 6,000 calorie deficit back when I lost weight with her the first time. And 3,500 calories is a pound, okay? But not only that, I was increasing my exercise with her, and we would work out for about 200 calories. And so that was going to take off another 1,200 calories. So that was a solid 2 pounds a week. That was the original plan, and that stuck pretty close to that. Now Jill comes around again, right? Now my ankles were broken. She's pulling me back together again. We go back on the program again, and that's 1,400 calories with 200 calories of exercise 6 days a week. Okay, and now I lost 6 pounds the whole year. Something was wrong. Something wasn't working for me anymore. I couldn't lose weight. And all the way up through the pandemic, you can see my weight, and I'll try to put a picture here in the chart if I can figure out how to get a picture here. My weight went up, 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 up. And then the pandemic hits, and it starts coming down. But 6 pounds a year. Okay, still, I was losing weight though, right? So we get to the part of 2024, and I am still on my diet. I'm still working out with my trainer. We're still on the same program as we were before. And I lost 6 pounds from January to June 24th, okay, as part of her program. I got put on Manjaro at that point, and now, 7 months later, 43 pounds down. That is the difference a drug makes. And so the question, and then you ask yourself, what happened? I'm not eating that much differently. So let's take a look at that, okay? So let's say that my BMR when I started working out with her was about 2,000 calories because I weighed less than I did the first time I met her. And now I'm eating 1,200 calories. So that's 800 calories a day times 7. And so that's 5,600 calories, while I should be able to eat 14,000 calories. So still a significant calorie deficit. Barely lost weight. So now I talked to my doctor. You have diabetes, you have high glucose, you have something, and we'll talk about this in next week's episode, metabolic syndrome. You have metabolic syndrome, which means that, as she said, that you could go eat the lawn in your front yard every day like a goat, and you would still not lose weight. You can exercise, you can cut back on your diet, you can do all the things that you're supposed to do. I could turn into a vegan and eat nothing but vegetables every day, and the weight wouldn't come off because now the system is broken. Between the glucose in your blood sugar and the insulin screaming around, trying to control the glucose, you no longer pull fat out of your muscles and you're no longer losing weight. And that's where we started talking about going on Manjaro. So let's take a look at the difference that I'm doing now, right? So I'm eating 1,200 calories a day, and that's times 7. That comes out to 8,400 calories. We're going to subtract 200 calories 6 days a week. So we're going to subtract 1,200 calories. That comes to 7,200. I should be able to eat 2,000 calories times 7, 14,000 calories. So the deficit is quite good. I ate before 1,400 calories a day, and now I'm eating 1,200 calories a day, and I'm forcing myself to eat 1,200 calories a day because, again, I want to keep my muscle mass and my bone mass going. I am 200 calories different than what I did before I started taking Mounjaro. That comes out to 200 calories a day is 1,400 calories. If 3,500 calories is a pound, that means that I would lose an extra pound in 2.5 weeks. Instead, I lost 43 pounds. In the amount of time, I lost 6 in 2024. That's the difference this drug makes. And so for all the people who are out there, and I'm a little sensitive about this, who say, well, just stop eating and just exercise a little. I have been dieting. I've been eating good. I got rid of processed foods out of my diet. I've been drinking liquids. Diet Coke was obviously the worst thing I was doing, but that's not going to account for, 37 pounds of weight gain, right? It doesn't work for you. At some point, you end up broken. But this diet I'm on now should basically come out to, let's take a look at that math. So if I'm doing an extra 200 calories times 365 days, that's an extra 73,000 calories that I'm not eating, and you divide that by 3,500, that comes to an extra 20 pounds. I was not losing 20 pounds. None of this was happening. Manjaro allowed me to have a metabolism again, to allow my body to get rid of this sugar, glucose, insulin fight that was going on and start pulling fat. That's what this drug does. That's the difference this drug makes. For anyone who's a doubter, at a certain point, you get broken and you can't lose weight. But for those of us who are stuck, we're stuck. We're in a bad situation. And this drug is causing us to not be in that situation where I am losing weight now at such a consistent rate. For the first time in my life, I can almost tell you when I'm going to be done with this diet. At the end of the year, I should be about 10 pounds away from my goal weight, a weight I have not been since I was 8 years old. And I could never get there. At the rate I was going when I wasn't taking Mounjaro, I would have probably been 84 years old before I lost weight. And now I'm going to lose it in a time period where I could start going living my life. I can start doing the things I wanted to do. It is within my grasp instead of waiting until I was 84 years old to lose the weight. It means so much to me that I'm in a year going to get done with something that I have never been able to do through Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig and working with nutritionists and working with my trainer. That was the best one, obviously. And then, like I said, I think Weight Watchers was the second best. Through fasting, keto diets, vegetarian diets, you name it. I tried it. And I'm actually very good at staying disciplined on a diet. And not one of them worked except for this. And now, in a year, I'm going to be done. And it's not done because I have to maintain it at this point. And obviously, that's a big question. As I talked about last week, how do we come off? What's the exit ramp for GLPs? That's amazing. Josh Gad, where he said, I feel like I'm cheating because I lost all this weight. I can't eat what I want to eat. Maybe if I was younger, maybe I could. Maybe if I had a more active job where I'm not just sitting at the computer all day, maybe I could. I exercise 6 days a week. I have a whole gym right over there that I cleared out a spare bedroom, and I turned it into a gym, and I put all the exercise equipment I bought over all the decades into one room so that I would encourage myself to exercise, and I do. I have Apple Fitness. I do that too. I have my trainer. I work out with her 3 times a week. I couldn't count on anything, and now I can. And this drug, Mounjaro, is all the difference. I wish I could tell the people who are like, well, just shut your mouth and quit eating and go exercise. I have. Something is broken in some people. I don't know if there's such thing as a GLP deficiency. Like, people take hormones, right? They take estrogen when they're going through menopause. They take testosterone when they're aging. They take the little blue pill, which helps with circulation and fixes those types of things. Every one of us could probably get off some medication if we would just live a healthier life. A lot of people are on statins. A lot of people are on different types of drugs. And sometimes at some point, you end up getting so unhealthy, you can't. And so you could see, and getting back to this whole weight loss part of it, you can see over the ages I had a slow decline. You might say, look, I'm overweight. I'm really overweight, but I'm incredibly healthy. I am very healthy. It catches up to you. You can say that when you're 20s and maybe when you're 30s, and then it starts to, you get behind the curve on it. Like I said, I started out with having glucose problems. I went into breathing problems. I don't know if the breathing problems are going to go away or if that's something else entirely. Blood pressure problems. I started having knee problems, ankle problems. I started having inflammatory problems. I had a hand allergy. I couldn't even knit anymore because my hands were so torn up all the time. And the doctor said it's probably inflammatory and it probably has to do with the glucose in your system. If you are healthy, God bless you. I mean, honestly. But is it going to last forever? I think if you ask me what my biggest regret is in anything is that I didn't do this when I was younger and this would be easier. Obviously, I wish I had. But I didn't. And I didn't have the tools and I didn't have the discipline that I have now. And now I have it. And now I don't have the metabolism working in me anymore to do it. Someone said, they said, wow, Jill, you've lost a lot of weight. Congratulations on this. And I said, I feel a little weird taking credit for it because I am eating a very good diet. I am eating healthy right now. I am working on what my plan is going to be when I get off of this drug eventually. But honestly, this drug has straightened up my metabolism again. I am doing the thing that I was always supposed to do that never worked for me. And now it works for me. Okay, great. But thank you. I said, what I really do take credit for is the fact I don't have side effects because I eat healthy, I exercise, my muscle mass is going up, my bone mass is going up when it should be going down. That's me. That is my hard work paying off. And next summer, I'm going to get back on that bike. I have a really nice bike that I just never quite fit in. I'm going to ride that bike again. I'm going to go on those hikes. I am looking forward to starting my life again once it gets warm outside. There are things to take credit. You do have to do work on this. Like I said, maybe some people don't. I do. I am working really hard at this. I think my friends have never seen me so dedicated to something. And the closer I get to this, the harder I'm working at this because I can almost taste it. I can almost taste being that weight that I never was. In about a month, I will be again the weight I was in high school. And probably over the course of the summer, maybe towards the end of the summer, I'm going to be the weight I was in junior high school. I am time traveling back. And hopefully what also time travels back are the health issues. Do my knees get better? Does my ankle get better? My glucose is better. My cholesterol is better. My blood pressure is better. My sleep apnea is better. All of those are now cured. I have a home glucose test. So 1 week a month, I tested dedicatedly to make sure everything is still working right. I had an 84 blood sugar this morning when I woke up. I think it should be between 70 and 90. That was the lowest blood sugar I ever had. I did 2 hours after eating. It was 109. I'm fixed. But again, this is medication, and I have to prepare for the day where I might not have it. If you're still overweight and healthy, like I said, God bless you, but it won't probably last forever. Do something while you have the chance, while you have the metabolism that's still working. If you can do something, do it. Just do what you can. And then start working in small steps to get worked back into it. My trainer, like I said, took a gelatinous blob like I used to be and worked me back into a real human being again. And now she's working me into being a fit person, a person who's in good shape, who's healthy. Because my next phase, I'm not that old yet, but my next phase is older age. And I want to be that older person who goes for walks and goes and sees things and goes on bird watching trips and still can get around and do exciting things. I don't want to be where I was headed. A broken older person who had bad knees, bad ankles, high cholesterol, high diabetes, sleep apnea. This is what we're working for. And so if you can do something about it, let's start working on this together. I would love to hear from you. You can always email me at jill@startwithsmallsteps.com. If you have something private you want to say to me, you're also welcome to put things in the chat channel. Tell a friend. I have a podcast. I talk about helping yourself in small incremental steps. How can we become happy get our goals that we want to have in life, think about life in a different way using small steps. But this is really my final fight. I mean, I hope it's not my final fight, but you know what I mean? This is the last thing I needed to work on. I got my work world in shape. I got my financial world into, I mean, I'm not rich, but I'm okay. And now I'm getting my weight and my health in shape. So please, like I said, subscribe, tell a friend, and let me know what you think. Let me know what's going on with you. My podcast is Start with Small Steps. It's also here on YouTube if you want to watch it here. I am now starting to do those videos live. I'm trying to do something a little bit different than I had done before. Before I had done books where I talked about a particular book and what this book was getting at. And now I'm trying to do something a little bit more personal. So I hope you subscribe and let me know what's going on with you. I just would love to be there for you, to be a support for you, pray for you, whatever it is I can do for you. Thanks so much for listening.